We're so excited to have her. Please welcome SandiMarx!
Okay, so it's the early 80s, and I'm an actress, but I use that loosely because I never got any acting work. So what I used to do to make money is rent my body parts. Specifically my feet, because I have really small feet. They're like extended ankles. They're not even really feet. So I would get hired by shoe companies when they have these big shows like at the New York Coliseum. I'm so old, there was a New York Coliseum. And what they would make me do is kind of walk around in what's called FMPs, fuck me pumps, you know, those shoes, high heel, or like these T-straps. And then buyers from department stores like Macy's and Bloomingdale's would write their orders. And the pay was amazing. It was $100 a day. Back then, that's a lot of money. But by the end of a week of doing one of these gigs, my toes were like bloody stumps. And I thought, I have to find, there's got to be other work. Now, most of my friends, they were waiting tables, which made much more sense. But I was super clumsy, and I knew that if I was a waitress, I would spend all my tip money paying for people's dry cleaning bills. So I figured waitressing is not an option, and I was never getting any acting work. So I was just always desperate for something. And then one day, I was reading Backstage magazine, which was kind of like our Bible back then. We didn't have the internet, so you would look in there for auditions and ads. And there was this ad, if you want to sing telegrams, to call this guy. He was a booking agent. Now, before the internet, you know, you couldn't have Facebook and all those 600 friends wish you a happy birthday. You could the only way you could wish someone a happy birthday was saying it with flowers, until this guy and other people came up with these balloonograms, there were stripograms, there were telegrams where people sang, and I thought, this is my jam, because I love throwing confetti in people's faces. What could be better than embarrassing and humiliating someone in a very public space dressed in a crazy-ass costume? I wanted to do it. So I go down and I meet the guy, and he was really nice, and it seemed like the easiest way to make money. For $100, all I had to do was rewrite the lyrics to an entire song based on the person. Then I had to wear a character costume. Then I had to record it on a cassette. We had this thing called cassettes back then. Then I had to show up, perform it, hand on the cassette, and I'd get $100 and a tip. I was all in. This is so good. Okay, so the first gig was at Bank Leumi, this Israeli bank in Midtown Manhattan in the main branch. And these guys hired me to entertain their 30-year-old BFF who was having his birthday. And all the men, back then, they were wearing like red suspenders and they smoked cigars. They were all a bunch of assholes sitting around. So, and they made me be I had to be a Playboy bunny, which is so demeaning. But I didn't give a shit. I put on that cotton tail, and I went charging in there, and I had to sing a Beach Boys song, Barbara Ann, and I had to fit in Bank Leumi into the lyrics. I don't remember but it went well. I got my $20 tip, I got paid, and I was like riding high. I was like so flushed and excited. It was like more, give me more. Anyway, so I started doing it a lot. And then a couple weeks later, my boss calls and he says, okay, it's a 30th wedding anniversary. And you have to go to this restaurant in Chelsea, and the husband is going to surprise his wife, and they're really into the Muppets. And I'm thinking, these are my kind of people, because who doesn't love the Muppets? And I go to the office praying I'm going to be Kermit E. Frog here, because that's the only slight impression I could do. And I love Kermit because he's loyal and sweet and green and beautiful, and but no, I was going to be Miss Piggy. And I was just not on board because she was so bossy and aggressive, and she wore too much jewelry, and I didn't approve. I just didn't approve, but I didn't get to pick. So I go, and they had this huge costume closet in my boss's office, and I go rifling through, and I try on the costume. So I'm in a fat suit and a ball gown, and they make me wear pearls that only either Wilma Flintstone or Barbara Bush would wear, like big, bobbly pearls, opera gloves, and then the pièce de resistance, I wear a latex pig head, snout with holes cut out, eyes so I could breathe, barely, no peripheral vision, just this way, and then like Jane Mansfield's head wig, and then a little supersonic glamour, a crown, a little tiara, because she's so elegant. All right, so then I have 24 hours to turn this around. I got to write the song for the Weissmans. I got to show up. Now, let me tell you about the restaurant. Okay, so it's called Chelsea Place. Now, back in the 80s, Chelsea was a pit. It was disgusting. It was kind of like a gay community if you couldn't afford to live in the West Village. And there was nothing there except this one restaurant, Chelsea Place. It was really fancy. It was well reviewed. It had like 3 stars in the New York Times. And they sold furniture. So the owner was using his noggin. He thought if he couldn't move the veal piccata, there's always an armoire or a bureau to get moving. So he was, doubling down on his investment. It was brilliant, way before ABC Antiques was doing that. So this was like the place. This is where people used to go. And they had a really busy bar scene. So the day of the event, I got into my costume, and I lived in Manhattan Plaza, which is where actors, I'm sure they still live there, 10th Avenue, 43rd Street. And I got completely all tricked out. I was a pig, completely dressed up, and I took the only money I had, $20, and I stuffed it in the bodice of my gown because I knew that when I got there, I'd get a tip, and that would get me back home. I had to get to 7th Avenue and 22nd Street. I was ready. And I never liked to change at the venues because the bathrooms were kind of small. You never knew who'd be in there. Girls doing coke off of the mirrors. You thought, oh my God, I'll never get a stall. So we used to all get dressed up. Okay, so I get down in the cab and I'm all trussed up and ready to go. And I've got the cassette and I'm ready. And I go and I get out of the cab and I open the door to this incredible restaurant, and I'm hit with a wall of smoke because we smoked in restaurants. Just everybody smoked, and it's like 4 deep at the bar, and the music is loud. It's like Donna Summer on the loudspeaker, and I'm pushing my way through. I have no vision. I'm pushing my way through, and nobody notices me. I am a pig in a bar. I'm wearing a boa and opera gloves. No one even, and I'm assuming they thought I was like a tranny there for 4 quarters for $1. I don't know what they're thinking. So finally, I hoof my way over. I find the hostess at this little station, and I could tell she's a bitch. She's got one of those resting faces. And I say, I'm here for the Weissmans. And she just says, oh, they left. The service was slow and it was too loud. It's like, no shit, Sherlock. So I said, well, did they leave a forwarding address? No. I'm a pig with no place to go, and I have $4, which will not get me back to 43rd and 10th Avenue. And it's getting so hot. The smoke is filtered in, and I'm sweating. My hairline, I can feel the pimples already forming. And I don't want to take my head off because if I know someone in that bar, then they'll see me not only being pathetic, but oily, sweaty, and pathetic. It's not an option. So I don't know what to do. We don't have cell phones. It's 1981. So I'm teetering in my outfit. I'm hot. And then I see at the bar in the corner, David fucking Judson, my ex-boyfriend, with a stool obviously reserved for someone of less swine than me, and he's going like this, like he is into pigs or he likes Miss Piggy, and I don't know what to think. I don't know what to do. But I have a problem. I have no money, and I can't walk home in this outfit. So I think, okay, wait a minute. You're Miss Piggy. What would she do? She's sassy. She thinks she's so beautiful. And she gets her man, Kermit, and she always asks for what she needs. She doesn't care what people think about her. Be more Miss Piggy. Just go and get it. So I saunter on over, knocking people in the way because I've got smoke in my eyes. And I get over to the bar and I take off my head and my sweaty, matty hair is lying there. And he just smiles like he sees me every day just like this. And I try to hoist myself up onto the seat with my ass hanging off in the fat suit. And he claims that he knew it was me. He couldn't have possibly known it was me. But he insists, he didn't know. He just obviously had penchants for pigs. I don't know. And then I just pull in my Miss Piggy and I say, I need $20. And I'm very thirsty. I'd like a drink. And I have to meet a date back at my apartment. And I'm just thinking, Miss Piggy, Miss Piggy, Miss Piggy. And he says, fine, because Miss Piggy, that's what she's like. She just says what she needs, and she's a little bossy about it, and all that aggression has gotten her Kermit the Frog. So I threw back a margarita with salt. I had like salt line on my face, like sticking to my sweat. Smacked my lips. I said, okay, David, I gotta go now. And I tucked the 20 back in my bodice, and I found a way to hop myself off that seat, and I exited that restaurant, and I took in the fresh air, and I thought, oh my God, I have learned something so valuable today. If you need something, if you want something, all you have to do is ask, and it will be yours. You can't find out unless you ask. And also, David Judson, you are no Kermit the Frog. Thank you.